Hello, my name is Katherine Redden, and this is my final poster assignment for Health 6760. This poster looks at the cosmetic industry and the disproportionate effects on women. It looks at it through an environmental health lens in the context of health inequities to address this as a public health crisis. The cosmetic industry disproportionately affects women. This industry is a billion-dollar industry. It's rapidly growing and is only going to continue to do so. The FDA does not have any regulations in place regarding the production of cosmetics. What this means is that cosmetic manufacturers can put just about anything they want in their products and then put them on the market to sell. The FDA does not have to regulate, inspect any of that in these cosmetic manufacturing plants, and because there's just no regulation. The last time there was a regulation implemented regarding cosmetics was the year 1938, so we are rather due for a new change. Like I was saying, this disproportionately affects females, specifically African American females, as well, as they are the ones who are utilizing these cosmetic products, thus putting them at an increased risk of exposure for these chemicals and toxins. The chemicals and toxins that have been found and are commonly used in these products have been linked to many health conditions, and a lot of these health conditions only affect women, such as breast cancer, ovarian cancer, difficulties getting pregnant, and different things of that sort. It is a major public health problem because it marginalizes a specific group, African American women or women in general, and there isn't much being done by the government to protect them. The Johnson & Johnson baby powder case is an excellent example, as it was targeting minority communities, and even though they knew that this baby powder had a lot of potential health risks, they still continue to advertise it and sell it and even give out free samples. More research needs to be done on the long-term effects as well as exposure and dose amounts. And the government also needs to put in some regulations so that it can protect the people they are serving. The cosmetic industry is a billion-dollar industry that is rapidly growing. With this rapid growth, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, has not made any changes in the way that they regulate or monitor cosmetics. And the first and last time there was any sort of implementation was the year 1938. Cosmetic manufacturers do not have to get an FDA stamp of approval before they sell their products, which means that these companies can put in whatever they want. In the United States, there are 10,000 known chemicals, even more, but only 11 are banned by the FDA. In contrast, Europe, which is a similar country to the United States in terms of socioeconomic status and things of that sort, they have banned 1,328 chemicals used in cosmetic production. When it comes to these chemicals, there are so many different kinds that it can be a little bit overwhelming, but you can break it down into three categories. Irritants or allergens, which would be a rash upon using a product. And then the other two are a little bit more long-term effects, and those two categories are endocrine disruptors, so they mess around with the hormones, and then carcinogens, which are things that have been linked to cancer. This is a public health problem because cosmetics are widely used across the country. Men and females use them. Females use them a little bit more, but over 12% of the U.S. has reported using cosmetics and having an adverse effect. So there's also products that are marketed towards African American women that have also been proven to be even more toxic with the higher amounts of chemical concentrations. Ultimately, these chemicals and these manufacturing plants are an environmental health issue as well as a public health issue because the chemicals leak out, they get into the water, they get into the air, and they can have negative effects on the entire population. An excellent example of the corruptness of the cosmetic industry is the Johnson & Johnson baby powder example. This baby powder was created by Johnson & Johnson, and they used a lot of chemicals such as asbestos and also talc powder. Since then, they've stopped using that, but the company at the time was aware that these chemicals they were putting into their product had potential long-term health effects, but they were continuing to do so, and they were continuing to sell it. They specifically targeted minority populations. They gave out free samples in African American churches. They advertised on the Spanish radio, and they really were reliant upon this population using their product. This image here is a map of the world. The countries colored in red have regulations regarding cosmetic manufacturing, and then the countries that are in gray do not have any type of regulations. It is important to note that the US is one of those countries in gray. Further research should be conducted to see if there's a correlation between cosmetic regulations and the overall socioeconomic status of the country. In conclusion, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration needs to enforce regulations on companies that make cosmetics and other personal care products. With this industry becoming a rapidly growing billion-dollar industry, more efforts need to be made as it affects more people. There has not been much research regarding the long-term effects of the chemicals used in the products being sold, as this was recently kind of discovered. There needs to be more research done on comparing low-dose topical exposure of these chemicals, as this is how they're getting into our system more likely. So for instance, makeup, you're putting a small amount of it on your skin. Upon the discovery of these lacks of regulations, a lot of people were uproared, angry about this, and they started a lot of conversations, started a lot of campaigns, and even brands have branched and made new brands where they only use natural products. They don't use any chemicals or toxins. Ultimately, the group who's affected by this the most has the least amount of power to change it. So it's up to the FDA and these big companies to make the change to not put as many chemicals, if any, in their products.